Greetings and welcome to the first in a long line of wellness podcasts. And we're calling tonight, What is Wellness? And we are so excited to be streaming live here in Facebook, in the WeCare Wellness group, as well as on the WeCare Wellness YouTube channel. So, welcome to everybody who's here. I see we got somebody popping in on us. And please feel free. It doesn't matter whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. If you can let us know who you are, where you are, and if you have any questions about what is wellness, we got a pretty amazing lineup here. And my name is Cheyenne Kramer. I'm the co-founder of the WeCare Partnerships Network. And I am just so excited with the wellness team that we have in WeCare. And Miss Joetta Colquitt is one of our WeCare members, and she's the one who got together and put together this wellness panel lineup for you this evening. So we are all about helping to bring together the small business community into collaboration teams so that we can create more health, more prosperity, and more peaceful communities for all. Because isn't that really what we all want? So with that, I'm going to back out of this picture and I'm going to pass the baton over to Miss Joetta and let her introduce this amazing lineup that we've got for you here tonight. Take it away, Joetta.
Thank you, Cheyenne. And thank you, everyone who's actually joining us, whether it's on Facebook or on YouTube. We hope that you'll be joining us in the future for what is going to be a series of podcasts on the subject of wellness. This represents the first of a series of podcasts that we're going to be having on the first Thursday of each month. And it's going to consist of conversational topics with various experts and individual business owners that are working in the field of wellness. Wellness is a topic that's actually it's grown tremendously over the last several years. It's just actually become a wellness economy in and of itself. There's so many areas and aspects of wellness that even though it goes back and it's ancient and it has ancient traditions, when we talk about the area of wellness, it's defined as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles that's designed to lead to a state of holistic health. But at the same time, you talk about wellness and, it consists of the emotional, the spiritual, the intellectual, the environmental, the behavioral, the financial, all of these things make up an entire being of wellness. But, it's become such a growing wellness economy that when you talk about it, you look at expenditures that consumers look at, and that consists of personalized health and public health wellness expenditures, healthy eating and nutritional expenditures, personal care products, for retail chains, mental wellness expenditures, how people deal with their stresses, physical activity expenditures rather, even like with the pandemic, fitness technology that people were using. Wellness real estate now has become something that's very popular in terms of how people are looking at their environment and the environment that they're living in. Wellness tourism, which I work in, has become such a big thing. So, that's why we wanted to start off this podcast basically and look at, well, what is wellness? Because it's become so much. And I'm so fortunate and thankful that this dynamic group of ladies who are joining us tonight have agreed to participate. And I'd like to begin by introducing them. First, I have Lori. Let me go and start, in the center here is Michelle Burke. Michelle is a retired vice president of patient support services and director of nursing for perioperative services at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. She's also a partner in Waldron Travel, which is a bespoke travel company that provides a niche specialty in sports tourism and integrative health and wellness travel packages for individuals, groups, and businesses. Next to Michelle is Katina Smith, who is a workplace wellness trainer and the owner of Happiness in You. Katina has over 20 years of working in health and wellness and works for companies that specialize in leadership development to help clients improve their competency as leaders, and also provides workplace wellness training to create healthier and happier workplaces. Katina is board certified and holistic health practitioner and a certified functional nutritional counselor. Then I have Fran Babishak, who is an area manager and independent consultant for Arborn International. Arborn is an international company based out of in California, but also has headquarters in Switzerland. Arborn produces vegan nutrition skincare products as well as cosmetics and bath and body product lines. As a global health and wellness team builder for Arborn, Fran engages in helping people discover a holistic approach to health and wellness so that they can bring the best versions of themselves out both internally and externally. Next to Fran is Doris DeHaal, who is an author, inspirational speaker, drum healer, and owner of Next Stage Drumming, and she's the only certified therapist in North Carolina. She provides custom designed drum therapy sessions that are science based with proven health and wellness benefits that are backed by medical research to help beat stress, reduce ADHD symptoms, boost clarity, creativity, productivity, memory, help one's immune system, and even healing. Um, Dory's an advocate of helping her clients gain better focus, feel better, break free from whatever is holding them back, as well as finding them their joy. And last but not least is Lori Vork, who is a certified functional nutritionist and lifestyle practitioner and owner of Restore Health Now. Lori helps clients transform their health by teaching them simple nutrition and lifestyle skills that reduce or eliminate nagging symptoms of pain, brain fog, belly bloat, fatigue, sleep issues, and weight struggles, which are oftentimes related to thyroid dysfunction and aren't always addressed by medication alone. She also coaches clients and provides stem cell regeneration and stem cell patches. She's also been certified by the Hashimoto Institute out of Bethesda, Maryland, which specializes in autoimmune disorders. This is a very interesting panel group. So having said that, I'd like to start asking each of you, beginning with, let's say, Michelle, what does wellness, how would you define wellness and what it means to you? And go on with each and every one of you. Michelle, you have your speaker that's off. Michelle.
Sorry. For me, wellness is about a state of being. It's about the journey to be the best that you can be, whether it's mentally, physically, socially, spiritually. For me, it starts with mental health because I've seen in practice that if you don't have your head in the right space, it's very difficult to get your body in the right space. So for me, it's about doing the journey so that you can feel and be the best that you can be mentally, physically, spiritually to start.
Okay. How about you, Katina?
Wellness to me is about daily changes. It's about lifestyle and making those lifestyle changes that are going to help you physically, mentally, and emotionally. But when you talk about workplace wellness, to me, I've always looked at it as like a big umbrella and all those different activities, policies, procedures, programs, activities that are in place that are going to help you have a healthier and happier work environment. So that's pretty much how I defined it.
Okay, Fran?
Well, similar to Katina, I actually envision a wheel, like similar to an umbrella. And each of the spokes in the wheel are super important to the strength of the overall wheel. And when one or two of them are broken, the wheel is weaker and does not function to its optimal capacity. And so all those spokes encompass things like, self-care, your nutrition, your mental health, your relationships, your spirituality. And, our job, I believe, is to help people get that balance.
Dory Stahaldi. In fact, we have a request that everyone share your name and where you're from when you give your answer.
Sure. My name is Dory Staley, like Nestle, and I'm from Raleigh, the Raleigh, North Carolina area. I'm going to piggyback on what Fran said about balance. I see wellness as not only balance, but I've got to have a musical analogy. It's all about rhythm, because if your rhythm is off in any of those areas, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, health, relationships, whatever, it can throw everything off. So it's way more than just, diet and exercise. You really have to look at the whole picture, because sometimes people might be fine in one area, but they're wondering why they're stuck. Oh, because you forgot you're not dealing with this area over here. Your rhythm's off.
And Lori.
My name is Lori Vork. I'm from Clearwater, Florida. And for me, wellness means feeling good as I age gracefully. And I also like to think of it as becoming the CEO of my own health. And like all of these other ladies have said, it's a whole person thing. You have to do the body, mind, spirit. All of it is connected, like in a spoke. And so that means feeding my body nutritious food, maybe supplementing as needed, practicing the daily lifestyle skills like getting adequate sleep, exercising, being hydrated, and relationships, like Dory was talking about, are so important. So the other thing I like to do is focus on function. I want to be able to function as well as I can as I age.
So essentially, what I'm getting from everyone is that wellness is sort of like a multidimensional and omnipresent nature of wellness. There is an omnipresent nature of wellness.
Yes.
I just remember, it's funny, when I was younger, don't mean to date myself, but wellness was almost like taking a day off to go to the spa. But, it's just changed that much now. And having said that, if I was to ask each of you, would you say, and how would you say that, or would you say, whether or not the pandemic has changed wellness and how we define the nature of wellness, relative to any changes that the pandemic has brought with it?
Well, I think the pandemic essentially scared the hell out of all of us and made us more aware of our bodies and how we treat our bodies. The essence of the pandemic was those with a lot of what we call in healthcare comorbidities, whether it's diabetes or heart disease or cancer, were more susceptible to the extremes of COVID. And it made us all more aware of being healthier, so that if this kind of thing, God forbid, comes back, we're stronger. And I think that's what the pandemic did for us. It made us more aware of our bodies and of our minds, because we have to remember that the pandemic was also emotional torture for us. It wasn't just about the physical. So I think all around, it made us drive to be healthier and to think differently about how we care for ourselves.
Katina, how would you say the pandemic has changed the workplace?
I actually write about this in my book, about how it affected how we looked at the world and the workplace itself. From an employer's perspective, it's like they had to learn how to pivot in that moment, because in many cases, the work still had to be done, first off, but for some industries, they couldn't do the work. So it was a wake-up call in how we do work in the workplace today. And then employees also realized that they could do work from home, that I think it really gave everybody the opportunity to just slow down and really realize how fast we had been going, because we're working the 50-hour plus weeks. We get up, go to work, come home. You might have an hour of time to spend with your family. You go to sleep and then you start the day over. So it really brought awareness to how we're living and how work really affects us, because we spend so much time at work. So I really think it's opening employers' eyes to the fact that we really have to change the way we do business. That's why some companies are offering more remote type and hybrid work for employees that can actually work from home. So as Michelle was saying, it did put that awareness there in people's mind that we need to do some things different, because people were suffering mentally, physically, and emotionally. And I even witnessed that in the workplace with the people that I was working with. They talked about how stressed they were because of the pandemic.
Fran, have you found changes, subsequent to the pandemic, where people have been wanting more healthier products, or, how have you found the pandemic has made changes?
Well, for me personally, in my business, that year was the best year I've ever had, because people needed two things. They needed to stay healthy and they needed to order online and stay home from the stores. And that's what we had. And I think that it really made people more aware of what they're putting in their bodies. It makes a big difference. And you kind of looked around at the people in your bubble, and there was the immunocompromised, and they really had to really be careful. And the people around them needed to be super careful to protect them. And it just opened everybody's eyes to, wow, I am so grateful that I'm healthy. And if I got COVID, I'm going to be okay. But there's so many people who are not. And the stress levels were unbelievable. And, personally, I had my father in assisted living, and I couldn't get to him, and he couldn't understand why I couldn't come visit him, and we're yelling up 2 floors to be able to talk to him through the window. And so I moved him out and got him into a private apartment. But, it just really impacted everyone differently. But I believe for sure it opened everyone's eyes to, we need to take our wellness, health and wellness so much more seriously.
Dory?
Well, it was interesting when the pandemic hit, since I mainly was doing live events and live classes and things like that, and everything shut down. I was thinking, well, now what? And then I realized I knew how to use Zoom before it became a thing. So, hey, we just took everything online. But what I was seeing was more and more changes in what people were reaching out for help with. It used to be focusing issues mainly, and all of a sudden the top 2 reasons that a parent or an individual will reach out, and even a corporate, anxiety and stress, without a doubt, across the board. And of course, in the beginning, a lot of the kids were being very, very open during our virtual sessions. And they were telling me about the feelings of isolation and how much they miss their friends. And it was really, really tough for them. So I was very, very thankful and blessed that I was able to not only help them drum it out, but we could also talk it out while we were having a session. And with my adult clients, I said, hey, just keep in mind, drumming also burns calories, 270 calories per half an hour of drumming. So there's that. There we go. But yeah, it made us shift our thinking, and I think become more creative, and it forced you to be more connected. You had to reach out and find different ways to not only work, but connect with people if you wanted to achieve some sense of normalcy and stability, and just to keep going and at least support each other.
Because it also brought out a lot of social isolation as well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lori.
Well, I'm hoping that it shined a light for a lot of people that they had to take control of their own health and stop relying on their doctor alone to try to fix what was going on with them. So, even from the beginning, I was really frustrated that the experts that were out there were not talking about things like just going outside and getting some sunshine and getting outside, spending time in nature, because that helps with all of the anxiety that everybody's talking about too. And there are such simple solutions for many of the issues that are going on that aren't being talked about. And that's one of the things I do when I work with people, is just kind of teach them how to take baby step approaches. You don't have to do everything at once. And that relieves anxiety. And, it does, they'd be surprised at what a difference of, just spending 10 minutes of sunlight in the morning can do to help their sleep, and what sleep does to help your immune system. Everything is connected, like we talked about before.
Joanna, may I interject
Sure.
also to tag on to what Lori said?
Yeah.
Sometimes simple is best. And like Lori said, just getting out and walking, getting some sunshine, getting some air. Not only are you relieving your anxiety, but you're getting some exercise. And you don't always have to go for the $5,000 retreat solution. You can just do the simple things and it will have the biggest impact that you can imagine.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that too. I think that the pandemic did cause people to get more into nature because they felt isolated. So they got out and they started taking more walks.
Right.
They were just sort of going stir crazy sitting in the house, and they just wanted to get out and they got more into nature, I think, as a result of the pandemic. So,
and that also builds community, especially if you're going out as a family for a walk after dinner, or
right.
meeting up with a girlfriend. You're maybe connecting some dots that you might have been missing by not being able to be in the office.
Right. Exactly.
Now's the time to start educating people, because we have short memories. And the farther we move away from the pandemic, I'm concerned that we will continue to adopt the ways that brought us to the lack of health and wellness, because we do have short memories. And once the fear is gone and we're farther removed from the pandemic, will we continue this energy towards health and wellness?
That's a good point, because I do think, I think during the pandemic, the technology sector emerged as a big winner, because they came up with all of these technical, digits and applications, even exercising, and particularly for fitness. So they definitely came up as a big winner. In that, coming up with digital, everything became digital. So that's one of the things that I think happened with them. So I guess they're the winners. So having said that, I guess we can move on. But
Can I just add one more thing, Joetta, now that you mentioned that?
Sure.
When things began loosening up here in North Carolina, I was asked to do a series of classes with students. And I noticed a dramatic shift in the way they interacted with each other. Everybody had like no patience, no filter. I mean, some of the things they were saying to each other were downright mean. And I thought, wow, social media has really taken an effect here. We don't talk like that here, I would have to tell them. And, let's be nice and, considerate of everybody. But it was totally different than when I had worked with kids previously. So the whole mood change, the lack of patience and empathy, way down. So hopefully that's coming back again now that they're a little bit more comfortable with being with people again. But they almost didn't know how to interact with each other or with me. It was very interesting.
Yeah. But that is interesting. Moving on to our next question. One of the things that I've noticed is that public health experts advocate that COVID has resulted in wellness having become more about prevention as a lifestyle as well as a public health priority. So, do you agree with this? And if so, what aspects do you find are now different about staying healthy, about our lifestyles, behaviors, and habits? Michelle.
So, when I first came into healthcare, we didn't talk about mental health. They didn't stress it in medical schools. They didn't stress it in nursing schools. We all took psychology, that kind of thing. But when you were treating patients, you really did the physical, not the mental. And I think that's been a turnaround in my time from when I started in healthcare till now, where counseling is acceptable now. It's not something that you avoid. It is cross cultures because in the African American culture, we didn't do counseling. You had to work through your problems, get over it. And it's now part of, it's not fearful, it's not shameful. And I think the pandemic helped with that, helped us draw more to that. But my concern is that it's not enough. When I look at statistics about the economy of wellness, et cetera, one of the least funded areas of health and wellness is mental health still. And that needs to change because we need it more than ever now, with not just with what's going on physically, with your diagnoses or whatever, but what's going on in the world. We really need to focus on that a little bit more. So, yeah, prevention, I'm not sure we're where we need to be. Again, that's also regional. When I came into healthcare, California was the state that talked about prevention. Back in the 70s, they were talking about prevention. The East Coast, we were eating whatever we wanted to eat, and we didn't care about prevention. They were the flower children on the West Coast, and now that seems to have um, become part of who we want to be. We don't want to get sick, and we don't want to get as sick as COVID made us. So I think we're a little bit more aware of doing those things that prevent illness, but I don't think we're there yet.
How does that play out, Katina, from your perspective in the workplace with work-life balance and things of that nature, as well as, employees are under a lot of stress.
Right.
How does that play out from your perspective?
As Michelle mentioned, there's some awareness there, but it's not enough. I feel like we still have a long way to go. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to mental health and how we identify mental health. A lot of times people think mental health and mental illness are the same, but they're not.
Yeah.
And I know employees are experiencing challenges when it comes to stress and burnout still in the workplace. Some employers are still trying to do more or have the employees work longer, but it's really having a toll on them. And personally, I experienced burnout, a lot of stress and burnout that brought my body totally out of balance because I was doing the 50 plus work hours a week. But I still feel like we have a long way to go. And when you talk about preventative care, I was having a conversation with someone. Everyone doesn't want preventative care. I mean, we still have big pharma in control. I was talking to this individual, and their friend is a doctor, and he had just come back from DC lobbying because they want to get rid of preventative care, so there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of taking more of a holistic approach and having these insurance companies, pay for more preventative care and other alternatives other than just giving people drugs because it's not fixing the issue. The system is broken. It has been broken for a very, very long time. And the cost of healthcare continues to rise. And when you look at the CEOs of these companies, they're getting paid millions of dollars, $28 million, $30 million. So it makes you think, why is the cost constantly going up? And then many people can't afford health care and you're getting less care. So why not focus on just being healthy and making the lifestyle changes?
Right.
Yeah, very true. Fran, how about your perspective?
Yeah, I was shaking my head with everything Katina was saying. One of the things I learned in the last year was I was made aware that the heiress to the Walton fortune, the Sam's and the Walmarts, Alice Walton, she is designing a med school, the first one ever in Arkansas, to teach preventative healthcare instead of, sick care. She's talking about healthcare, true healthcare. And I can't wait. I think it's opening next year. And this is what you're right. The system is so broken. All we do is give more pills to cover up the pain and not address the pain or the source of the pain. And I do think that COVID made people more aware, but not everybody. I think in the bottom line, a lot of people look for the cheapest thing, and a lot of money is always behind it. Like, for example, sugar is put into things. It's 8 times as addictive as cocaine, and they put it in every kind of food, spaghetti sauce and salad dressings, so that you will buy more. You're addicted to it and you want more. And we wonder why 40% of our country is obese. It's got to stop. It's just so direct, driven by money and lobbyists. And I feel so happy to be a part of the wellness community, people like all of you, in that sense that our job is to help and teach others about how they can take control of their own wellness and educate. And I think COVID also opened our eyes to the ways we get information. There was so much misinformation during the pandemic, and I also recently learned that whole 6 feet apart was just a made up number out of the White House. They just picked it randomly, and nobody had any scientific information to say 6 feet should do it. So I think we really need to be more, attentive to where we are getting our information. And this is good. It's good. It opened our eyes to everybody to being more informed.
I'd like to answer David's question here. He says, how do we deal with the resistance to pursuing a more healthy lifestyle, especially among men? Hope my husband's not listening here, but I'm going to give him a shout out. My husband decided that he needed to lose weight. In case you guys didn't know, I am a grandma. I'm in my 60s. I fool a lot of doctors because they want to know, what are you doing? People your age should be on blood pressure medicine and diabetes medicine. I said, really? Well, what are you doing? I said, well, vitamins and drumming and a really healthy diet. But with my husband, he had to make a choice. We have 3 grandkids. Once you get to be a certain age, you don't want to have, joint issues, muscle pain, so you can't play with those grandkids. And, every extra 5 pounds that's on you is going to really affect your knees, your back, and everything else. And people think, no, it's okay. Yeah, it catches up to you, folks. So it's really a good idea to adapt a healthy lifestyle. It's never too late to make some changes, even if they're small. Reduce some of the fats and the sugars. Some people get rid of meat totally. I did. I just eat fish, but everybody's different. But there are so many different things that you can do just to gradually take walks, anything, so that you keep those blood sugar levels, your blood pressure, and your weight in check. I don't know if that helps or not, but there we go. But we did see pictures recently of my husband before and after. And he was like, whoa, I can't believe I was that big. Yeah. You don't realize it, it snuck up on him. He looks great now, though. So there we go. And he feels great, too, which is the main thing. Way more energy and things. And he's glad he's able to keep up with those 3 grandkids.
David, that's a great question. I feel like I get a lot of resistance in my business sharing healthy eating with men. And I feel the big thing is they think it's all or nothing. It's like, oh my God, I never get any dessert anymore, or any beer or any alcohol. It's all about learning how to balance and being, just more intentional and choosing, even start like Dory was saying, starting small and changing one little thing and building on it makes all the difference in the world. And so many times I think men are just like, well, I can't do that, so I'm just going to keep going the way I'm going.
Lori, we haven't heard from you on that subject.
Well, like everybody has said so far, I'm really hoping that people are starting to wake up that they are responsible for their health. And that's one of the things I try to teach people is to become the CEO of their own health. And for men, maybe speaking that kind of language is a good thing. And when working with men, there's different personalities. There are some that are ready to go and do everything I recommend. And there are others where I have to take the baby step approach. So you have to kind of consider your personality as you're trying to make these kind of shifts and shift in a way that works best for you. I know when I went through a health crisis, I changed a lot of things. And I was able to do that kind of stuff because of my personality. But I'm working with people who can't. And so then I help them find out what's going to work for them, so that they can take ownership. Because I think probably since most of us have been alive, we've turned over our health to the doctor. And you get a symptom, you go to the doctor, they give you a pill, you go away, and then the next symptom comes up. And nobody's ever really addressing the root causes of things. And when you start fixing the root causes, then symptoms can go away, and maybe people can get off of some of the medications they're on. But it is a commitment to themselves. So
I think you have to be in the right headspace too. And I think I mentioned that earlier. You've got to be adaptable to change. You've got to want to change. It's not something you can force on people. That's why we're probably still the most obese country in the world. If you don't have the headspace to want to make those changes, you're not receptive to the learning, it's not going to happen. So it really goes back to the mindset again, and it starts with that because that's where you get the courage and the focus to move forward, I think.
yeah, I think that's a big deal. And sometimes I think that the small steps approach too is part of that, because if you think you have to do everything at once, you go into overwhelm, and then you just shut down a lot of times, and you give up. So
it's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I wanted to add to David's question about resistance, one of the things I have found that works is really educating my clients, not just telling them, you shouldn't do this or do that, but, this is a better option. But also I provide them with resources and materials for them to read themselves. I've had times where I've had the discussion, I've explained things, and when I've given them the scientific studies and that sort of thing. And this is going to depend on the client too, because some people aren't really into reading, but for those that, don't mind reading, I'll give them information, and then they'll come back and say to me, oh, I didn't know that, even though we've had the conversation. So sometimes it's just about educating and then understanding the different learning styles as well.
Having said that, I guess one of the questions that I had where I wanted us to talk about was, do you think that wellness and science have been moving towards each other?
Okay, I'll start. I'm not sure about wellness and science. Wellness and research, I think, has bonded. There's more research out there about wellness than I've ever seen, whether it's mind, body, or spirit, and the effects of it. I look at research, scientific research, with caution. It depends on where the research is coming from. I read a study today with one of the new diabetes medications whose benefit effect is weight loss. And the research that was being presented wasn't really about wellness, but about selling this medication and having people lose weight. It wasn't even focusing on the fact that it was a diabetic medication for type 2 diabetes. It was focusing on the benefit effects of losing weight. Why? Because that's $1 billion market. So we just need to be cautious of the scientific research that's out there and what is its focus. Is it selling a product, or is it really talking about wellness and health? Because there's a distinct difference between the two. You can't sell wellness.
There's two
It's something that's
articles.
intrinsic that you really want to do. It's not about a pill or an injection. It's about a life change.
There's two articles that I read recently. One was that Harvard is actually incorporating into its curriculum a wellness class, into their medical school,
Right.
a wellness class. And the other was, I read something just yesterday that Harvard got a $25 million anonymous donation to incorporate research in their School of Public Health on wellness. So that's why I'm wondering if the two are starting to coincide.
Well,
You know?
And when they say wellness in that context, they're really talking about prevention. And I can tell you, 40 years ago, we were not talking about this at all. There was no such thing in medical schools or nursing schools, you know. So this is a about face, but they're really talking about how do we prevent, and they frame it as wellness, but that's what they're talking about.
Katina, do you find that, the workplace is in any way looking at wellness being incorporated with medicine, looking at it from a medical, like, let's say, mental, emotional well-being being incorporated and looking at it from a medical science perspective?
I won't say necessarily a medical science perspective. I think that companies are offering more programs, especially mental health programs. Like when you do the research and you look at wellness and what that means, you will find that every company is different. They consider their healthcare wellness, or they might have certain offerings such as a gym membership. But I don't really see it as it relates to science. I look at it more as people are aware that people are stressed, they're suffering with mental health issues, so they're offering more programs. But I don't really see personally where there's like a connection there as it relates to science. We know that employees need more support, so let's offer them the programs. I don't really see it as that connection there with science.
How much importance do they put on, let's say, work-life balance programs into their overall employee benefits programs, even like getting together for conferences, retreats, off-site retreats, just trying to build that type of employee morale and emotional support?
Right. Some companies are doing those sorts of things, but also it comes down to money. And especially with the way the economy is right now, training and development, as well as things like wellness programs, that they're the first to be cut because they, they're more focused on keeping the business afloat and the bottom line. So, yeah, companies are doing it, offering the programs, but it's still, I feel like there's a lot of work that needs to be done in really understanding what the needs are of the employee. Because I don't think you should just have a one size fits all approach. You really have to look at the company as a whole, the culture of the company, and really understand the leadership side as well as the employee side in terms of how they see the workplace and view the workplace, and what they need specifically.
Do you find employers asking or inquiring about these programs as an effort or approach to try to reduce, let's say, employee transitions or employee transitions and
Right.
keeping and retaining employees?
Right. I think, companies are focused on the bottom line for one, but when they really understand that you really have to treat your employees with respect, and if you want them to be productive and if you want them to be engaged, you will see a return on investment. If you want to reduce absenteeism and turnover, if you take care of the employee, they'll take care of you. So when you explain those sorts of things to leaders in terms of how they can make changes so that their employees have what they need and they're excited about showing up in the workplace, then yes, leaders, and they're more likely to do the things that they need to do to create the right environment for employees.
Okay. Fran, do you think that wellness and medicine or science have been moving towards each other?
I do. There's a particular area that I have a lot of interest in that has been kind of developing over the last 10, 20 years, and that is all the research between the gut and the mind through the vagus nerve. And the particular fact about 80% of our serotonin is created in our gut. And so if our guts are unhealthy, it affects our sleep, our appetite, our serotonin, our mood, our libido. And people haven't been aware of that at all. They just think mind and stomach, two separate things. And in addition, I've heard different facts quoted by different doctors, but anywhere between 80 and 95% of your immunity is created in your gut as well. So you have a healthy digestive system going, you're much more likely to not get sick. So educating people about that, I feel like is a big step in the right direction. Like you think it's not all connected, but it most certainly is. And I love reading the research on that.
Yeah, there's some authors I've been reading about that says that that's the key to cancer, a healthy digestive system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Dory, your thoughts?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. I've been following the shifts even with what I do. And a lot of people on LinkedIn and elsewhere are talking about neuroscience. And, we're talking about, brain science and things like that. Like it's something new, like this is a whole new discovery. And other universities are doing studies and, oh, look, drumming can help with this and boost your brain and boost your immune system. And I'm thinking, where you been? Drumming has been used for centuries by Native American tribes and African tribes for three purposes: communication, celebration, and, oh yes, healing. And a lot of us who have been doing drumming for therapeutic reasons anyway, we know all of this, but now we have all these studies to refer people to and say, oh, by the way, here's some of the science and the research that backs up what we've been doing all along. So there you go.
Yeah. And Lori, you could probably tell us a lot about this because I know you work a lot with your stem cell patches. You work a lot with individuals who would normally be trying to go in and maybe doctors are saying you should get your, operation, you should, replace your knee and, things of that nature. What do you see in terms of their, wellness meeting medicine?
I would like to think that it's going to happen, but I don't think it does because of the pharma and big ag and sugar and all of those factors that are playing together. And getting back to what Michelle was talking earlier about that drug that she was talking about, one of the unintended consequences of that, even though you may lose weight, is that it puts you at higher risk for thyroid cancer. So people are trying to take a quick fix and using a drug, and I don't know that all of the research has been done. I don't know that people are being apprised of all of the consequences of these different things that they're trying as a quick fix rather than taking the wellness route, which takes time. Because how long has it taken you to get to this point? People want an answer tomorrow, and it doesn't happen like that. It takes the body time to return to balance. But the really exciting thing is that it has that innate ability if we help it along. So the stem cell patches are certainly something that can help with that because they're activating your own stem cells and turning them back to a younger state. So it's not anti-aging, it's actually reverse aging. And there's a number of other products that also help the body do what it should be doing. But as we age, a lot of times we lose that ability to do that. So it's not putting anything into your body. It's just teaching your body how to do what it should be doing all along. But as we age, we lose that. And one of the other things, to get back to the science and stuff, I would love to think that holistic schools are popping up in some of these big universities and things. But when I look at what Tufts just did with the food pyramid, that was a horrible example of how people should be eating. And that's coming out of a major university with the guise of doing it for prevention. So there's a big way, I think, for people to go. I think the system is broken, and I don't know if we can fix existing system or if people need to come in and kind of bring in an alternative system that, and people can choose, and maybe they play together well. But I think giving people choice is a big deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, when we talk about wellness and talking about the journey, we're talking about permanent change. We're not talking about taking an injection or taking a pill and what happens when you stop taking the injections and you stop taking the pills. Do you regain the weight that you lost? You know, what's going to happen? So when we educate about wellness, we need to make sure that they understand that we're talking about a permanent life change, not a quick fix.
And also, you know, oftentimes these are habits we develop as children.
Oh,
So if, you know, these individuals aren't, you know, if they don't develop these habits as children, and if their parents don't have these habits to instill within them, there you have an issue there too.
yeah.
But I
just
think if
read,
you,
I'm sorry, I read a study today that in this country, between the ages of 2 and 19, 1 in 5 children are obese
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And that's really a sad statement. So if we're not teaching our children, that's the unhealthy adult that's going to be there in the next 10, 15 years. One of the permanent changes that Michelle Obama is trying to do, you know, that was her agenda when she was first lady, was healthy eating and nutrition for children. And she's developing a company that will
Yeah, I
do
saw
that.
that.
Yeah, so that they're not drinking sweet sodas and things like that. She's developing drinks for kids that has stevia in it, which is supposedly a safe sweetener as opposed to, you know, Sweet and Low and the other sweeteners. So we have to educate our children and be better parents raising our children in a healthier lifestyle.
but
Yeah.
on the other side, it's there's also hope, because I have heard stories of people in their 70s and 80s who have been able to turn things around. You know, they were eating the sad diet their whole life, and by making these changes, even at that stage of the game, they can turn back the tides of and live a more you know, they can function better, which I
Right.
think is a huge thing for people to be able to put their own socks on and things like that, or you know, walk downstairs or play with their kids or whatever they want to do. So there's always hope.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, but one of the things that I learned, I used to live overseas, and I remember a friend telling me, because I said, why are they eating all of this junk? And she said to me, she says, it's expensive to eat healthy, Joetta. You know, it costs a lot of money to import healthy products. It never really occurred to me that that's why sometimes these bad habits occur, So that's how a lot of these people in these countries look, that's how they look at it. It's very expensive for them to eat healthy.
Well, I don't know that that's true either, because I think people can have their own garden. There's farmers markets, there's local farmers that people can tap into. And then when you look at how much is it costing you to eat the junk in the
Well, that's a good
healthcare
point.
that you're putting out,
That's
and there again, you can start small. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to do all organic. That you can make choices along the way, and that's education. That's what Katina and I do with a lot of our clients, as far as how to start incorporating some of these things in your life, and just noticing the changes that can take place. And sometimes that's the momentum that somebody needs to make a more permanent change or to try other healthy things.
Well, that's a very good point. And having said that, as we wrap up, I'd like for everyone to go around and talk about their business and each of their businesses, and let everyone know how they can be contacted if someone wants to reach out to them. We'll start with you, Michelle.
Okay, so Joetta and I are Waldron Travel. We do we do all kinds of travel, but we focus on sports and entertainment and health and wellness, putting together programs for those who want to make the real change as it relates to health and wellness. We're not talking about spa packages, 1-day spa packages. We're talking about programs where you can get nutrition counseling and medical counseling if you need it, and mind-body experiences. So that's where we're focusing our energies to make people better people, help them to reach their goals. Did I
And
leave anything out, Joetta?
they can contact us where?
Oh, yeah. Well, our website is www.waldrontravel.com. And Joetta and I are at either mburke@waldrontravel.com or jcolquitt@waldrontravel.com.
Okay. Katina?
Yes, my business is Happiness in You, and I focus on helping employers create healthier and happier workplaces, taking a two-tier approach, starting with leaders, teaching them how to care for themselves so that they can care for their employees. And I offer training and consulting and coaching, but also the programs for employees include things like stress management, sleep, exercise, nutrition, mindset and relationship. And then also there's a finance piece to it as well. And I can do things such as workshops and challenges and different types of health fairs. And I also see clients individually, and I'm beginning the process of partnering with mental health companies to focus on the side of supporting the body through nutrition for your mental health. But you can reach me by going to my website, which is www.happinessinyoucoach.com.
Okay. Fran.
Wonderful. Hello again. I'm Fran Babishak with Arbonne International, and Arbonne is a 43-year-old health and wellness company all about mind, body, skin focus. And so we have nutrition, skincare products, bath and body, makeup, and just the highest quality, all botanically based, gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, kosher, anything artificial we would never use, no petroleum byproducts, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on and on, over 2,000 things we will never use. And it made a huge difference in my life. I did our 30 Days to Healthy Eating program 8 years ago and could not believe how amazing I felt and just love sharing it. And we have that program goes off every single month. It's one of my favorite things to share with people because it is all about educating them on learning how to clean eat so they don't feel like they need to diet going forward. They know the foods that serve them and the foods that don't serve them. And that is the most passionate program that we offer. And you can reach me by going to, the easiest way is through LinkedIn. It's at Fran Inspired Health. And that is also my handle on Instagram. So you can message me either place. My website is francisbabishak.arbonne.com. And I've just been so honored to be here with this great group. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Dory.
I'm going to give a shout out to David. Yes, David, you get it. Glad to help. Yeah, Dory the drum chick here. I took my creative hobby of playing percussion and turned it into a very unusual business. I discovered firsthand that drumming, therapeutic drumming anyway, can really help boost your mental and physical health. After a freak accident in 2011, when all hope seemed lost, I fooled the doctors. And after only 2 weeks of drumming every day for 15 to 30 minutes, I was able to cancel 3 surgeries, an invasive procedure on my spine, and I no longer had brain fog, depression, ADHD issues were gone. Everything was gone. Range of motion. It was pretty amazing. So that became my why, is to help other people experience the joy and healing power of drumming. And what I do is teach. It's not a drum lesson. It's not African drumming. You don't need to have any drumming experience whatsoever. I am technically a wellness coach who uses drums. I teach very easy techniques. You have one of these, a djembe drum, or we can also use a drum pad and drumsticks. If you can count to 8, you can do this. I've worked with ages 4 to 100, including special needs, stressed out entrepreneurs. Corporate programs have been virtual or in person for stress relief, mainly work-life balance, boosting productivity. But it's so much fun. And I'm a rock chick, so I like to add a little extra rock element into the mix. The stress melts off your body. You have loads of fun. You can focus better. The testimonials I've gotten, even sometimes after just one session, have been pretty amazing. Loads of science behind this. So backed by science, approved by God, and loads of fun. Have some fun, whack on the drum. Dory Staley, nextstagedrumming.com. You can reach me at Dory, D-O-R-I, at nextstagedrumming.com, and we can have a chat.
Okay. And last but not least is Lori Warwick.
Yep, my name is Lori, and again, I am a thyroid detective. So if you know anybody who is struggling with those symptoms like fatigue, belly bloat, constipation, those are things that are often associated with thyroid conditions, even if somebody doesn't know they have thyroid conditions. And if people are on medication, but they're still having a lot of symptoms, it's because they're not addressing the root causes. So the medication will help to a point, but when you start fixing the root causes through education, like David mentioned, that's true. Education is key. And taking baby steps, that will help you go further and eliminate even more symptoms. So you can find me at www.laurie, L-A-U-R-I-E, Victor, O-R-K.com. I have a freebie there on Hashimoto's that might be of interest to somebody who is struggling with that. And you can also find me there with the stem cells if you're interested in learning more about how stem cells can be a bridge to maybe helping you go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
Sorry. I just want to say stem cells can be a bridge to help you want to do more, to figure out the wellness piece, because you realize that it's possible to feel better. Thanks.
Okay. Well, having said all of that, we've come to our conclusion, and I would like to turn it back over to Cheyenne.
Thank you, Joetta. You did a great job. Great questions. Lots of good information shared here tonight. And there was just a couple of things that came to my mind as I was listening to some of the conversation. One is that some of you may know that my husband actually ran for governor of North Carolina back in 2012. We did a lot of research on health and wellness at the time. And one of the things that we found to be horrifying, and it is so much why conversations like this need to continue, is that the US spends more on healthcare than any country in the world. But in terms of the results we get, we rank number 40th. think about that. And it's for a lot of the reasons that we've heard here tonight. One other thing I wanted to mention, because there was conversation about science and wellness, and is there a place where they start to meet? And there is some. For those of you who aren't aware, Dr. Andrew Weil actually started programs in Arizona that he called integrative healthcare, where he was really working to merge traditional Western medicine with more preventative healthcare kinds of and holistic healthcare kinds of things. Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, adopted his program. So there are programs at Duke where you can become certified as an integrative health counselor. So to me, that was a huge step forward because we need that more holistic approach. So I thank you all, ladies. You've been awesome. Thank you, Joetta, for putting this all together. And thank you, David, Gabriel, other people who stopped by tonight. And we'll look forward to the next one you put on, Joetta. You said it will be the first Thursday in June, correct?
Yes.
All right. Well, have a wonderful evening, everybody. We thank you for being with us, and we'll see you again on WeCare Wellness and the What is Wellness podcast. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Good
Thanks so
night.
much. Bye,
Good
everyone.
night.
Bye.